3 years ago this week, we started our electric car journey with this car that we're in. We're going to give you our 3-year review of our Fiat 500e. As we mentioned in last week's video, we started our EV journey by purchasing a used 2018 Fiat 500e. When I was shopping around, it was probably the least expensive 2018 model with under 30,000 miles of any kind of car within 50 miles of where I lived. At the time, I had a reservation for a Ford F-150 Lightning, but I wanted to know if an electric car would fit our lifestyle, so I was looking for something inexpensive that I could just use to drive around to see if it worked. And I did, and I liked it, and over the summer when I was off, Rachel started driving it, and this car then became Rachel's daily driver when I purchased the Chevy Bolt. One of the first things that we were talking about when we were discussing this was the vehicle's limitations. So Rachel, what limitations does this vehicle have?
Well, first of all, range. This poor little guy can only do, as we say, 88 miles on a good day, 88 miles on a good day. Today it told me we had 93 miles of range when I first turned it on at 100% battery, but normally it's a little bit less than that. Of course, it depends on the driving conditions and how fast you're going, and that's it's just a guesstimator when it tells you your range. But it's not a lot. It's not going to road trip. It's not going to go long distances, but it works well enough for just going back and forth to work.
Now, what happened when you turned the air conditioner on to that 93 miles of range?
It went down to like 83. So it does not have a heat pump. It has a more conventional heating and air conditioning system. So it does drain the battery to use climate control for sure. So that's another limitation.
Now, this car has, I believe it's a 24 kilowatt hour battery pack. Only 21 kilowatt hours of it are usable. So that's why it doesn't have a whole lot of range. But what are some of the other limitations? You said that it couldn't road trip. Why is that?
Well, this car also does not have the ability to fast charge. It can charge on level 1 and level 2, but it cannot do fast charging. So that just means anytime we need to charge, we need to have quite a lot of time to do it. On a level 2, it charges in about, was it 4 hours, something like that?
Depends on the state of charge.
Yeah, but if from 0 to 100 on a level 1, I think we figured it took like 13 hours. So
on a level 1, yeah.
Yeah. But a level 2, it's not so bad. But even so, there's just no ability to charge in like a half an hour like you can with most other vehicles, electric vehicles.
The maximum charge rate that this car can take with level 2 charging is 6 kilowatts. It cannot take more than that. But it'll maintain a fairly flat curve at 6 kilowatts because it's doing level 2 charging. So sometimes, Rachel, if you need a little bit of extra range, what do?
I'll plug in at work. There's actually an exterior, just a 110 volt outlet right by the door near the street where I work. And so my portable cable will just plug right into the wall there, and I'll leave it plugged in for 2-3 hours. It gives me an extra 20-30%.
When we first had the car, we relied solely on level 1 charging for the first 3 months. We would plug it into an external outlet on our house, and basically if I got home from work too late, I couldn't take this car the next day. I would drive my truck. I would have to get home with enough time for it to take 13 hours, and it wasn't really at 0 to 100%. It was more like 30 to 100%.
Yeah, it still took a long time on level 1.
And we bought this car in February, so we were dealing with winter weather and all of that. And I discovered one other thing on its limitation is that when it was below 50 degrees, it didn't like it when it got below about 20 to 25%. It would automatically drop 10% on the indicator immediately, like within a mile, 10% would go down because it was just having a hard time calibrating with the cold. Have you ever encountered that?
That has never happened to me. I have gotten it down pretty low. I think the lowest I ever had it was at about 5%, which was scary. But I had a lot of driving to do, and there just weren't any opportunities to charge along the way. So I think that's the lowest I ever got it, but I have never seen the turtle. Supposedly there's a turtle that shows up if you are low, but I have seen the car tell me that the battery was low and I needed to find a place to charge. Of course, there isn't any place except for my house, anywhere near my house, so I just had to get home and plug in. That's a limitation kind of any electric vehicle, that you do have to plan ahead and make sure that you know where you can charge, because you can't just pull off at any random intersection where there's always a gas station. It does take a little bit more planning. And this particular car, since it can't fast charge, it takes even more planning, and we just can't go long distances at all.
But Rachel, are there any other limitations to the car?
Well, it is very small, and that's usually an advantage. But if I want to carry anything, any kind of cargo, or if I need to get a lot of groceries, or if I need to buy something at the hardware store, it's very limited in size. As Luke says, we don't really have a trunk, we have a backpack. It's very small.
I can't take credit for that. I got it from somebody else on a video, and I don't remember who. It was so long ago.
And the back seat is not super comfortable if you were going to carry a lot of passengers. I think the front seat is comfortable enough, but if you were going to carry passengers, you would need them to be small back there.
Yet, while we're talking about cargo space, we are taking this car on our normal weekly errands, which include picking up our groceries for the week. And this is more than a grocery getter. It's Rachel's daily driver. It's her commuter car. So any other limitations?
I did think of one more. This car is so old that it doesn't have integration with like Google Maps or iPhone navigation. So it just has this TomTom that was kind of installed into the car itself, which of course is a little out of date. It's a little dated in terms of the technology, and I don't use it. I just use the navigation on my phone usually.
So let's talk about some of our likes.
I really enjoy driving this car. One of my favorite things about it is the styling. It's just super cute. It's a little, reddish orange tiny car that just sort of looks like a tomato sitting there. And I get a lot of compliments on it. I've run through the drive-thru and people go, "Oh, I love your car," which is fun. I like that. It's really nice inside. I like the kind of Italian styling with the white dashboard, white steering wheel, the seats are cool. It's just really a cute car. And of course, like any EV, it's fun to drive. It gets great pickup, it's very maneuverable, and it's got good traction. It's a fun to drive vehicle. And I'm a small person, so I kind of like being in a small vehicle. Makes it easier to park, makes it easier to, avoid wrecks or, whatever, avoiding collisions. It just makes it easier to drive when it's small like this. The other thing I like is that it doesn't have a lot of maintenance. Obviously, as an EV, it doesn't have oil changes. So we haven't had to do a lot of maintenance on it. I'm not really the type that likes to tinker with my cars, so I appreciate that I can just get in it and go and don't have to do much. I like that I don't have to go to the gas station, which of course would be true for any EV. And there was one more thing I was thinking that I said I liked about it. Oh, it's very cheap to operate. About 3 cents a mile is what it costs to drive this car. So I don't have to think hard and decide whether I can afford to go someplace. It's very cheap.
So what was the name of that color?
I believe they call it Luminosa Orange. To me, it just looks like a ripe tomato.
Now, right now, this car has a little over 54,000 miles on it. I think it had about 28,000 miles when we purchased it. So we've almost put on as many miles as the car had when we got it. We purchased it when it was 3 years old. We've had it for 3 years, so it's been driving about the same amount of time that whole distance. Because of its limited range and inability to fast charge, it's not going to rack up a whole lot of miles. But like any car that's around 50,000 miles, after 3 years, there's some things you have to do with the car, that you have to do to the car. So what were some of the things that we have had to do?
Well, the first thing we had to do was put new windshield wiper blades on. That's something that the dealer should have done and didn't. That's a completely other story. We were not happy with the dealer we bought this car from, but we did have to replace the windshield wiper blades. We did put tires on it, and we had to change out the headlights. That's another thing that this car is known for having sort of weak headlights. They just weren't very bright. So when we replaced the bulbs, the lamps in the headlight, we got brighter lamps, and that helps a little bit. The other thing that happened, the only thing that really broke on this car was the window. The automatic window roll-up mechanism broke, which again is something that is known to have a little weakness, and they do tend to break in these cars. So I did have to replace that mechanism in the door here.
Now, was it the motor or something else in the mechanism that broke?
It was a plastic piece. The motor itself worked, but there's a little plastic piece that is a part of the just the connection, and it just tends to break after enough usage, and you have to buy the whole motor again though. Because that piece is broken, you can't just replace that piece, you have to replace the whole mechanism. So it was kind of expensive, but it wasn't terribly hard to do. Luke wants me to tell you I did most of the work myself, but there was the very last bit where you have to sort of seat the window in the glass into the mechanism, and I just wasn't quite strong enough to do it myself, so he did that part for me. But I did most of it. Somebody's
going to ask in the comments, because you mentioned it, but how much was that part, do you recall?
I think it was, I'm going to have to look it up because I'll lie to you.
All right, we'll look it up. I'll put it up in a graphic, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Anything else with this car?
I don't think so.
But there was that one truck that had an encounter with you, right?
Yeah, we did get rear-ended one time at a stoplight by a giant truck that was towing a trailer with a piece of farm equipment on it. So I think the guy that was driving it was borrowing it from someone, so he just wasn't quite accurate with how early he needed to put the brakes on to stop all that weight, and he ran into the back of us. And fortunately, his insurance did pay for all of the repairs, and it was fully fixed. It wasn't too bad. There was some damage to the hatchback and to the rear bumper, but there didn't seem to be any battery damage. They took good care of it, and it's all fine now. It's the same. But of course, as an electric vehicle, the things we don't have to do are just as important. Like, we don't have to change the oil. We don't have to worry too much about brakes. We haven't had to, we don't have to check transmission fluid or power steering fluid or any of that stuff. It just sort of goes, and you don't have to do much. It's pretty cool.
Let me tell you something about the brakes on this car. Now, it does not have a one-pedal drive feature to it. You just have to apply the brake pedal like you would do a gasoline-powered car. But it uses regenerative braking at all speeds of 8 miles per hour and above. And the mechanical brakes kick in when the car is under 8 miles per hour. For that reason, these brake pads hardly ever get much wear. They do get used, and so you don't have to worry about any rust buildup on the rotor. But when we got tires, and we got tires again like we usually do, because we had a puncture that couldn't be repaired in one of the tires, and while that tire was off the car, I got in real close to look at the brake pads. The car had a little over 32,000 miles on it at the time, and those brake pads looked brand new. So they're really low brake wear. Now, what makes this a good little commuter car, especially if you can daily drive under the vehicle's range? Like if your daily drive is going to be under 50 miles or 40 miles probably is going to be your best to not have to worry about any kind of range anxiety or planning any charges. You can find these if you look hard. Right now, according to Cars.com, there's only 62 of these first-gen Fiat 500Es available in the United States right now. And the least expensive one is $5,000, and it is a 2015, so it's an older model than this. It doesn't have the same kind of dashboard that we have. Ours is a 2018, and the least expensive one of those that I found was $72.99. But just know that you're going to need to put it on a trailer or something to haul it to you if you're across the country. There's only 62 of them out there that are available on cars.com that at least have clean titles. And actually, when I turned on the clean title filter, that number didn't change. So they kind of all do. The reason was that Stellantis, when they were originally selling these, the price was $30,000 plus, and it didn't make sense for people in the late 20-teens, especially 2018, 2019. Why would I spend that when I can spend just a couple $1,000s more and get a Tesla Model 3 that has a lot more range, a lot more room, can fast charge, has a lot more technology, and all of that. And so to sell these cars, they were doing like $200 a month leases for 3 years. And so a lot of these Fiats were 3 years old when they went on the market in the used car market. And so their prices are really low. It's really windy today.
Yep.
So I've got the seat forward. I'm going to put this behind Rachel on the seat. Grab these two jugs, tuck them in. One thing about it not having cloth seats is I don't have to worry if they get wet. So.
Oh, that's true. I didn't mention
They
I
are
like
totally buckled in and
seats.
off we're ready to go. Another thing that we did with this car after a few months was get the windows tinted with a ceramic tint to make it so the air conditioner didn't have to work quite so hard in the Texas summertime. How has that worked out?
It's good. I like it.
So how is it to clean?
It's pretty good. There is a little bit of wear on the steering wheel here, but overall, mostly this white leather cleans up pretty good. And of course, this is very easy. This is nice and smooth.
So that's our 3-year roundup of our 2018 Fiat 500e. You have any final thoughts?
Overall, I do enjoy the car. Obviously, if you need something like this, you've got to be aware of its limitations, but it's fun to drive and I like it.
And Fiona likes it too. She's taking a nap down there while we're sitting here waiting for our groceries to come out. We do curbside delivery, and of course we've got to have the payoff shot of how the groceries fit in the back of the car. Any other questions that you might have about this little Fiat or any of our other EVs, go ahead and put them down into the comments. Next week we'll be doing the 1-year review on our Model 3 that we purchased from Hertz a year ago. So subscribe to make sure that you don't miss that. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.